Kicking off the main card in the middleweight division, Bo Nickal versus Cody Brundage. I think I know where we're all going here, but Brandon, take it away.
1, 2, 3, go.
Bo.
Yeah, Bo. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's Bo. I mean, again, it's one of those things, man, until he gets absolutely cracked or until he gets, caught in some crazy sub or is put through that, grueling 3-round or 5-round fight, I'm going Bo. So it feels a little unfair. It's a weird fight, just given his position on the card. I know a lot of people were up in arms about it. I wish it was someone in the top 15, but I mean, we get what we get. So my expectation is for Bo to run through him. But let's see.
Yeah, I mean, it is fighting. Anything can happen. Right. But for Brundage, you're talking about he was on a 3-fight lose streak, got a win by DQ, and then he got, obviously his last win. He feels like a sacrificial lamb here. But we've also seen people like that take advantage. So, if you have nothing to lose, you're a little bit less worried about things. And Bo likes to leave his hands down because he knows he can get to the takedown. So if he takes that chance, that could happen, but it's Bo till it's not.
And to even further back, the sacrificial lamb thing, some of these things is it's easy to dismiss, but when you really look at Brundage, he's 4-4 in the UFC, and only one of those wins was against a guy with a winning record in the promotion. Yeah. And even then, that one guy was Jamie Malkoun, and Brundage won because of an illegal elbow landed by Malkoun. Brundage was kind of losing large portions, if not most of that fight. Mm-hmm. Not Brundage's fault, but he's technically still doesn't have a win over somebody with a winning record in the UFC. We do know about the power of Brundage. He's got some wrestling chops. It is fighting. Anything could happen. We all know that as MMA fans. But, yeah, you just need more than that to beat a guy like Bo right now, at least from what we've seen. Next up, potential title stipulations again here on the line in the lightweight division. Number uno, Charles Oliveira versus number 4, Arman Tsarukyan. I just can't help but say Tsarukyan. I don't really think it's said like that for the record. It's just hard not to do it. Brandon, who you taking?
Yeah, so I've been pretty big on Tsarukyan the last few times we've had to pick for him, and I think we even discussed this matchup before. And I was going Tsarukyan, then I'm sticking with him now. I think that he is one of the closest equals to Islam in that entire division. Charles is a fantastic submission artist. Obviously, he's got the record in the entire UFC. But the one time he's had issues as of late with wrestling was against Islam. And I think Tsarukyan is just as good of a wrestler as Islam. I think the striking is to be determined who's better. But I just think Tsarukyan is going to be chasing that, or going to be fighting for that title very soon. And I think Oliveira is a little bit... He can get knocked down, but his striking is really, really good. I think he's probably a little bit of a better striker than Tsarukyan, at least more aggressive for sure. But I think Tsarukyan's wrestling is going to be able to sort of wet blanket Charles, and I think Tsarukyan might even honestly finish. But my pick here is Tsarukyan. That's who I'm going with.
So I'm actually going to go with Charles on this because I don't think it was Islam's wrestling that got him that win over that. I think it was the big punch when Charles went for that flying knee. He caught that punch straight to the chest, fall down, and then now he has Islam on top of him. It wasn't necessarily from a takedown.
Prior to that, Charles was getting dumped on his head.
Right, but he got back. He's getting back up from it. I guess I don't think that's really what changed the fight as much for me.
I don't think it changed the fight, but I think it definitely controlled the fight.
But for me, I think for Charles, Arman likes to get into the scraps. He likes to go forward and throw big strikes. He likes to look for knockouts. And when you do that against Charles, maybe you hit him, but then 4 seconds later he's hitting you, and it's coming back a little bit harder for me. And I also wonder, if Charles gets on that neck on one of those takedown attempts, is that going to deter Arman from going for some more? Because Charles is a threat everywhere, and Arman likes to do these scrambles. And when you scramble with Charles Oliveira, there's a good chance you get caught with something. So I'm going with Charles Oliveira. I think he gets the finish, and I think it could go either way as far as sub and knockout.
Yeah, me and Brandon are pretty much exactly aligned on this, so I'll try not to reiterate a bunch of stuff he said. But yeah, I like Tsarukyan to get it done. I think Charles is a dog. He's an absolute finisher. But like Brandon said, the closest thing we've seen him face to Tsarukyan was Islam. So also Charles is 34 years old, and in fighting years, he might be 43. He's just been in some wars, and I think for Tsarukyan, who's just 27 years old, I don't know if you guys have seen his social media, looks to be in phenomenal shape coming into this. I think the only real stinker Tsarukyan's had to me in the UFC was the Gamrot loss, but I thought and still think Tsarukyan won that fight. Yeah. I'll stand on that. And even when you look at that fight, Gamrot, another super high-level grappler like Oliveira, and even in credentialed, he might be a higher level grappler in terms of just credentials, right? with the ADCC stuff. So I guess in a nutshell, I just think Tsarukyan is more equipped to beat someone like an Oliveira than Oliveira is to beat an opponent who has the same qualities as Tsarukyan. So I think, again, it goes to a decision, but I think Arman Tsarukyan gets it done. Here we go, boys. In the lightweight division, could also have title stipulations. We have no idea where this is. Yeah.
BMF.
Well, I'm meaning the actual
big title.
The winner of this could face Islam Makhachev next. We have no idea what they're going to do. But as John mentioned, it is for the BMF title. Justin Gaethje versus Max Blessed Holloway. Glad I don't have to lead here. Brandon, who you got?
Okay, this one was really, really hard for me to come away with a decisive pick.
This might have been the hardest. Weirdly, I feel that because I think in terms of me trying to process, I might have had a harder time with this one than any of them.
So I was giving Max a ton of flack because of the DP fight, however many years ago. But since kind of looking into social media, watching his YouTube and stuff, this is not the same 155 Max that fought DP. So I can't even factor that into my equation here. Yeah. So the big things that stand out to me are Max's volume and Justin just pure damage when he hits. And the other thing that really stands out are the leg kicks, okay? So Max Holloway has historically had a problem with people who really light up his legs in terms of not really dealing with them. I think Justin Gaethje is probably one of the worst people you could not game plan for in terms of the leg kicks. So if Max doesn't have an answer to those early, I think that's going to stifle his ability to throw the volume at Justin. However, if he does have an answer to those, I just think that Justin Gaethje, he gets hit 7.5 times per minute, or per 5 maybe. But for every significant strike he throws, he gets hit. And that's not a good stat to have against Max Holloway either. Again, this was a toss-up as far as the pick, but I'm just ever so slightly going to lean Justin. I think that the damage that he's able to put forth with his strikes that he lands and the leg kicks might just be a little too much for Max. But, man, once Max gets going, I think that he could definitely be a problem that Justin's just going to wilt to. I could see a 4th-round TKO loss for Justin, but my pick is Justin.
Are we doing 3 points on this one?
This is a 3-pointer.
Oh,
no.
It's
just main and co-main.
Okay.
I was going to say.
I didn't relay that to you. I relayed it to Brandon. That's my fault. Yeah,
okay,
just
cool,
a one. I don't want Brandon to be up till 4 a.m. trying to do 3, 6. Yeah, I mean,
no, it's not too bad.
Yeah, but it would literally take forever.
Yeah. Okay, so for this one, I mean, I'm just the same as what Brandon said. I'm sure you're going to repeat a lot of the same things. It's just it's just hard to say what you're going to get from each guy. You talk about Max obviously fighting here before, but it was short notice. Yeah. He's had a lot more time since then. Even is probably mentally switched to the idea of doing that a lot more consistently. I think later in his career, he's gotten a lot better at not getting hit, of taking angles and not necessarily standing in front of people as much. And I think that if he can, and I'm also interested because Justin Gaethje is around the same size as him. And at featherweight, I thought that Max had a little bit more reach than a lot of people, a little bit more height. Now he's going to come into guys his same size. So I'll be interested to see how that looks in this version of Max. For Gaethje, I mean, the same thing. The leg kicks could very well change a lot of things in this fight. And then even just the mind switch for Gaethje as far as not just being too reckless, taking a little bit more of his time, and it started to pay off a lot. My problem is I gave myself a rule yesterday, as I think it was by 3 o'clock, as if I have somebody, I have to stick with them no matter how much I try to change it in my mind. So I went with Max by decision, and I'm sticking with Max.
Alrighty, yeah, I think I'm going Max here, boys. The best is blessed. I think unlike his first attempt at lightweight, as Brandon obviously both mentioned, physically he just looks better. We obviously won't know until we see him in there, but I don't think he's going to be as undersized as I think I've seen so many people saying. So for me, it just comes down to skill and technique. That's kind of just how I'm looking at it. And I think over 5 rounds in a striking battle, I just give Max a big edge here. Though we've seen improvements in patience from the striking from Gaethje, I think Max is still the cleaner, more technical guy who may also have a speed advantage, I think, as well, which could factor in. I do worry about Max getting drawn into a brawl. He's not a guy who's going to shy away from it, and we know Gaethje can tend to draw guys into that, and that's scary against an opponent like that. But as long as the chin holds up for Max like it has for his whole career, and I think moving up, he's probably even given himself a little bit more life and life expectancy, so to speak, in that chin. I think he's going to outstrike Gaethje with volume all the way to a decision. That's my prediction. Let us move, boys, to our co-main event, and it's probably one of the most anticipated women title fights in recent memory for the women's strawweight title. The champ, Zhang Weili versus number 1, Yan Xiaonan. Brandon, we will start with you.
This one was a little bit of an easier pick for me. I'm just really thinking that Zhang is going to just kind of run away with this. I think she's the better mixed martial artist overall. I think she's got really great grappling, that she's really improved over the last few years. I think that the striking as well is a little bit closer. Yan is a good boxer. We've seen that obviously with her knockout over Andrade. She looked good against Dern, but I just think that Weili has more ways to win. So I'm going to lean with her. I think she gets this done. I think that Xiaonan is just a little bit too one-dimensional in terms of this fight and the matchup itself. So give me Zhang Weili, and I'm going to actually take... Oh, man. I'm going to go ahead and say that she wins via unanimous decision. I think, that's my pick.
Man, this wasn't an easy one for me. I think that the growth that you've seen from Yan Xiaonan has been a big jump. And even just like her last couple, just being able to lure people into her striking, and Weili has been lured into some certain things. We talk about like the rose kick and some things like that. But Weili is just so good, man. She's training with all the best people. She always just looks even better. And I feel like any person who can just pick up Shaquille O'Neal that easy should probably get the nod.
Was it Shaq or Francis? I thought she picked up Francis.
It might have been Francis.
She might have picked up Shaq too.
Probably could still. Yeah. If you're picking up Francis, you could probably pick up him. As much as I really like Xiaonan, I think I am going to go Weili here, and I'm going to go third round TKO. I think if she can get her down, she has really good ground and pound and is really creative down there.
Yeah, these two just very similar as well in terms of their styles, which I think kind of makes it really tough. But I think, as Brandon kind of said there, I just think Weili is just kind of better everywhere, specifically in the takedown game. And I think that's something that she can and might look to exploit here. It's hard not to look at that Carla Esparza loss for Yan and think Weili isn't capable of doing something very similar, getting, kind of that top crucifix position. Matter of fact, I think Weili doesn't she have a similar finish from crucifix?
She was on the back crucifix finish.
That's
against
right.
Esparza.
Yeah. But even still, like, it's just you could see you could see a similar outcome there. But yeah, it's just hard to pick against Weili because of the physicality and strength that she possesses. It's an advantage that she usually has in most fights, and we talked about it with Manon Fior and Erin Blanchfield. It's like, for some reason in women's MMA, you just cannot undersell the strength factor. Like, it just means a little bit more in these fights. Yan showed in her last fight she is dangerous, but I think Weili beats her, and I'm going to say third round KO TKO. Main event time, boys, and for the light heavyweight title, the champ, Alex Pereira versus number 1 ranked Jamal Hill. Can't wait to hear it, boys. Brandon, who you taking?
All right, I'm not going to lie. I am still sitting here not having officially picked somebody. I don't know.
This is the biggest. I can't remember which one I said was toughest, Max and Justin. I take that back. I think this one's a little tougher.
I think this is the closest odd-wise, too.
It's just so tough, dude.
I have no idea. If Jamal Hill hadn't come off of this injury, the Achilles tear, so a lot of people think he's coming back too soon from, I would have definitely gone with Jamal a lot quicker. Yeah. But that makes me nervous. And he himself, having said that the UFC called a few days before they even announced this fight.
Yeah, because this was supposed to be the 301. Yeah, Brazil. So they moved it up.
That makes me really nervous. But I just think that one thing about Jamal is that he's a dog. And I think he's got a really good chin. And I think that's obviously something you need against a guy like Alex. And Alex himself is hittable. He's especially hittable with 1-2s and jabs. I saw a video on YouTube that was just a highlight reel of Alex getting jabbed in the face. And I think Jamal, with his size and reach, that's something really advantageous. But I don't care who you are, that left hook can put anybody out. Yeah. So that's the other factor here. And Alex is a very diverse striker. Jamal is not, pretty much a boxer. He does throw some head kicks. We saw that against Glover. But okay, so what's my pick? I don't think this is a decision. I think this is gonna be finished one way or the other. Yeah. But give me Jamal Hill. Let me go with Jamal. I think I think the chin holds up. I think he's able to sneak one in and land on Alex, and I think he gets it done early. I think it's probably within the first 3. So give me Jamal by, actually, let me go with third round knockout for Jamal Hill.
Well, I thought that was going to give me a little bit more time to be concrete on what I said, but not necessarily. There's so many ways this fight could go good and wrong for both guys, man. One thing I do lean on for Jamal Hill is how good he looked going into round 5 against Glover. Like seeing that gas tank, knowing that he can take this as far as it needs to go.
Yeah.
And we know that Alex has a tendency to fade a little bit, even in the Yuri fight where it just seemed like some people thought it was a little bit more of a coast situation.
Sure.
So I give obviously Jamal Hill some length there. I think for Alex, I think that kickboxing style is just not a lot of head movement. You're staying in the middle, you're kind of blocking stuff as it comes, and you're delivering, and keeping your head dead center against Jamal Hill is a very, very dangerous gamble because his straight punches are just some of the hardest. I mean, go back to like what the Johnny Walker knockout and some of the other fights he's had where it's just like those straight punches are just lights out. And we've seen, obviously, Alex has been knocked out by a middleweight. So there is that level of like, he does have a chin because we've seen him take big shots, but if you hit the button, he will go out. Jamal Hill, that's not the same. I don't even know if he's been dropped in any of his fights yet. Obviously, the Paul Craig he lost, but I don't think that was necessarily somebody putting
submission.
I think Paul Craig pulled guard.
Okay, yeah.
I think.
So, and then you also mix in like with the level of boxing is, Glover was one of the best boxers that they had at 205, and you mix in his grappling, and those things weren't enough to get over Jamal Hill. Now, obviously, he has 5 rounds against Jamal Hill to tell his pupil. But the thing I fear for Jamal Hill is the Achilles, because the leg kicks that Alex throws, 2 of those could undo everything that a surgery did. Like that's a very dangerous situation. But Jamal Hill's also very gritty, so I could see him maybe, even if he does get hurt by a couple of those, throwing some really straight punches and hurting him, almost like how Izzy did, where he had to kind of go against the cage and let go of something, because there is openings there.
And he's confident.
Yeah,
you listen to any of his stuff, Jamal is confident.
Oh man, so confident.
Yeah.
I fear for the leg kicks. That's the only thing that's really holding me back.
We need an answer, John. We need an answer.
Jamal Hill, I'm going to say second round knockout.
Yeah, I know. It's tough, man. I know. Yeah, I knew we would all be worried about the injury, as we should be, right? Because we have seen it kind of affect. But, man, you've seen guys like Tom Aspinall come back from big injuries and just blow somebody out of the water. Now, a guy like Alex Pereira, obviously different level than a Marcin Tibura or whatever. But I think when I look at this matchup, to me, and this was super hard to decide, I just think Hill doesn't get the respect that he deserves for being a well-rounded mixed martial artist. And that's not to say I don't think Pereira isn't great either. I just think Hill is the more complete fighter in this sport right now. And one thing that I can't look over is I don't think, in the UFC anyways, Alex Pereira has ever faced somebody who possesses that power that Jamal Hill has, plus with the size, right? And that is important to me, especially when we've seen Alex get hit big in a lot of his fights. You can't let Hill hit you like that, right? No. That's an easy answer to that one. I think either way, Brandon, you said it, we definitely see a finish in this fight. I'd actually be shocked if we see a third round. So give me Jamal Hill, second round KO TKO.